In today's IG Live series, we're so excited to be talking about gender roles today. Now, for many of us, this has been a controversial topic for many years because people are just trying to figure out what should men do, what should women do, or should we just do it together? And so that's basically what we're going to be exploring today. We hope you guys stay to the very end. It should hopefully be about 30 minutes. If it goes over, maybe an extra 10 minutes. So give us that grace. But if you need to leave, feel free to. Also, take this time if you need to get your dinner or snack, whatever you need, because this is a sit down and chat, and you can feel free to eat, kick your foot up, and do whatever you feel is relaxing to you. All right, so getting into the whole gender roles thing. So before I give my elaboration on it, Renee, what's up, girl?
Hi,
I just
Crystal.
see you in the last 30 minutes or so. So I
No,
want
five
to know,
seconds.
what is your take on gender roles? Like, what do you perceive to be today's gender roles, or what we would call the generalizations of what people say are gender roles?
Well, I think the gender role conversation can be very broad. And so before I get into what my takes are on the gender role, I guess you could share what your feelings are on it, and then I'll go ahead and say, okay, this is where
Okay,
she
we
is
bounce
going
it
with
back
this
to
gender
me.
role. Yes.
All right. So since Renee is shy, no, I'm just kidding. So I guess I would say that traditional gender roles, as we would call it, or generalizations of gender roles, to me would be okay. So a guy is supposed to be the provider. He's supposed to be the one who does all of the lawn maintenance, the one who works. The woman is supposed to be the one who, stays at home, cleans, take care of the children, cook, all of these different things. And yeah, I just feel like society has really cemented that idea of what they think gender roles should be. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that it was so strange to see females getting more masculine jobs, even things like engineering and being mathematicians, even mechanics now. A lot of these things that we see today were once classified as male jobs. And you're going to see me kind of like hopping in between society and relationships as it relates to gender roles, depending on how the conversation is going. Hi, Nubian Firefly. Thanks for joining us. So that's my take on it.
Okay, so when we talk about gender role, I'll just briefly go into the Bible. When God created the human race, he made a male and a female. And when he made the male and the female, he made them differently, and also he made them similar in some aspects. And in today's society, we find a lot of females feeling that, hey, I can do everything a man can do. But technically speaking, we cannot do everything a man can do because God made us physically different for a reason. And also, just piggybacking on that idea that God made us different. And because he made us different, we have different roles. Now, it doesn't say that a female can be a mechanic, like you mentioned earlier. That's just a job. But our role, or where we stand as female, that has not changed throughout history. Now, as people get more liberated, they feel that um, women should have equal rights. And technically we should, because God said, we are actually equal. However, he did created the man first, so that technically puts him ahead. He also, even though Eve was the one who sinned, he called Adam and he was like, listen. So he still bears some portion of the responsibility on the male. And also, I feel that even when you talked about the gender role, being a wife and mother in our home, the responsibility is shared. We can both cook, we can both clean, we can both take care of the kids. However, depending on what the other person has going on, then the other parent then takes on the mother role. If I have to do a job, then my husband is both the mother and the father. He cooks, he cleans, he does everything. And if he is out, then I would do everything. But does that make me a male in the relationship? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's very true. And so, since you pretty much started to talk about gender roles kind of being relevant, especially in the sense of biblical senses and different things like that, or depending on the dynamic of that family. So then my next question to you would be, let's say if it's a nuclear family where both parents are present or both spouses are present, would you say that they should both be able to carry the weight together in some respect, or should Sally have this set of jobs, and should Joe have this set of jobs?
Technically speaking, both should be physically capable and also willing to do any job. But depending on the person's workload, for instance, when my husband is doing some kind of special project and he is totally engaged in that special project, then I understand that, hey, I may have to chip in on his side and on my side. I have to do both of the responsibilities, but I don't feel that any particular job should be just specifically for the male or just for the female. And also, I feel that if both persons are working, then I feel that it would be the common sense thing to say, okay, how can we juggle this together? What can you do? What are you willing to do? Because we
Mm,
both know that both male and female can do both of the jobs, but the thing is, are they both willing to do it?
yeah, that's so true. And you definitely need, I think, again, the thing here is communication. Um, because I feel like a lot of persons get into marriages and into relationships kind of like with their own expectations of one another. And it's so easy to see how that can easily create so much chaos and problems, because you grew up traditional in your little Pentecostal household, and you grew up thinking that mama should cook or my wife should cook. My wife should clean, my wife should do all of these different things. And then homegirl is like polar opposites. She still go to church and everything, but she ain't about that cooking and cleaning life. But what if she is able to do other things like planting, or maybe she's able to, tend to the kids whenever they have schoolwork, or even homeschool them? Is that a possible arrangement, or should all females just have to learn these domestic duties?
I feel that both persons, the male and the female, should learn the domestic duties. I don't think it should just be for the guy or for the girl. I think both persons need to learn how to cook, and both persons need to learn how to clean the bathroom. Now, I guess the society we live in is usually the guys who learn how to mow the lawn and change a tire.
And
However,
even that.
I know this couple where the lady says she hates to wash dishes. So I'm gonna mow the lawn once a week like you do, and you do the dishes. So that was their arrangement, which I thought was kind of cool because she's like, oh, you're just mowing the lawn once every 2 weeks or once per week. However, I mean, it is what works for your relationship.
Definitely. And I totally agree with those sentiments. Um, Definitely, like I say, it has to be about agreement, because if at the end of the day, an early agreement, because I feel like also a lot of people tend to not voice these things earlier on in the relationship. And then it's still a shock for the other person involved. And so I think the main takeaway from this part is literally to voice your concerns, voice how whatever is your way of doing things or your expectations for the other person, make sure that you voice that with that person, because you don't want to end up in no breakdown marriage like in the first 6 months. So yeah, make sure you communicate. But moving right along. So my next question is, this is a hot one. Can females pursue a man?
Biblically speaking or technically speaking, I agree
However
with the
you want to ask
Bible.
the question, it's up to you.
I I totally agree with the world we're living in today. I do see females pursuing males. However, the Bible says when a husband finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And so, technically speaking, it's supposed to be the man who finds a wife, because what I realize with a lot of females is that they find the quote unquote husband, but the guy ain't want to be married. He ain't ready to be married. So we
Hmm.
always want to be married. For the most part, most females want to get married. It's usually the guys who are like, I'm not sure yet. So if you find a husband, that guy ain't ready to be married, then technically you still have not found a husband, and you can stay there manipulating and trying to get this guy, like trying to do everything you can to get this guy to marry you, and he may just not be interested, or he may just not be ready to get married.
So what if she says that the Lord told her that this was her husband? Who are you to dispute with her? What if
Well,
she said that?
technically, even if
If
she
no,
said that God told her, God still needs to tell the guy too. So, on both parts, because she can't make him, she can't get him to marry her. He still needs to be the one who found the wife type thing. And so,
hmm.
yeah, it's just,
I do agree with that, and I do feel as though um, we as females, we are literally prizes. We are something so rare and something so valuable. And I feel as though we have to understand that we have everything going on for us. Not saying that he don't have anything going on for him, but we as the females, we do so much. And I heard an old saying, I don't know if it's an old saying, but I heard somebody said that, a guy can give us things and we'd be able to mature it into something beautiful. You give us, your seed, we give you a baby. You give us a house, we turn it into a home. You give us your last name, we're your wife. And it's you just see how important the role of a wife is in the relationship. And I just feel as though we have to allow ourselves to be pursued, because it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm sure you'd be able to elaborate on that further. But I just feel as though being pursued is such a beautiful thing, when you don't have to feel desperate, you don't have to feel needy, but you allow yourself to be chased after, because you got it going on. You don't have to chase after somebody else love or attention or affection, because you know that you are okay with who you are content, and that whoever God has for you, that they would be the one to seek you out, because they see the value in you. Because I also feel, from what I've heard from a lot of guys, they often say that, for them, it's really like a inclination in them, like a natural inclination in them to want to go after, to want to secure the bag, so to speak, to want to establish something. And that's why I feel as though that has to be their role, because they just naturally have that, oh, I have to go after, I have to run after, type of mentality. And I feel as though, yes, people have their own opinions on it and they're entitled to it, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think the more we notice and realize how priceless we are, and how beautiful we are, and how a man needs us for a lot of things, you know to be honest, and how much we bring to the table, it really would make a difference in how we see the pursuit, and how much more able, we're able to wait instead of going after something that we're not supposed to be going after, if that makes sense.
Yes, I totally agree. If anyone here, if you have a question, feel free to ask. We are open to questions or your comments. We can't wait to hear from you. But yes, it is naturally in the male to want to pursue. But even speaking so, I still don't want guys to feel like, hey, because we're the girls and they should pursue us means that we take them for granted. No, we see you. We appreciate your hustle. We appreciate what you're doing. It's just, if we would keep things in the role that they're technically supposed to be in, he's the pursuer and we are the pursued. I think, we can have a great balance here instead of us because I think technically speaking, if you're pursuing a guy who's not really interested, then it could really just be a waste of time.
Yeah.
And
the
yeah,
reality is, not to say that guys don't hurt, because I know for a fact guys hurt. They don't act like it. They want to be all macho and so hard and everything, but they hurt. So I'm not saying that, but I feel as though girls, because we tend to be more emotionally inclined in relationships and emotionally minded in relationships, we tend to put our hearts out first.
mm-hmm.
A guy would tend to be more laid back and chill with it and kind of like, ease his way into feeling us and feeling the relationship and giving of himself wholeheartedly. But us girls, like, we ready to just bomb and go. Like, we just ready, like, what's up? And it's another reason why we have to be so careful, because we're so easily swindled sometimes by sweet talks. If a guy tell us, oh, baby girl, you so sweet, you so fine, this, that, yada, yada, all of the talks, all of the game, we like melting right in our seats, and it's different for a guy because, yes, you could try to like woo him or whatever the case is, but we just more inclined to be swayed by words and by actions and the feely type of things. And so, yeah, we have to be so careful with that. But moving right along, so my next question is, who is supposed to say, or who can say I love you first in the relationship? Or does it matter? Does it not matter at all? Should this even be a question?
I definitely don't think that the I love you thing is a gender role. I think that it could be either person's. I feel that both persons should be open and honest about how they feel. Most of the times I find it's usually the girl that says, hey, I love you first, because we're always the ones wearing our hearts on our sleeves. And most of the time, this is why we get hurt first, is the guys usually want to make sure we're all in before they even put their foot in the water. And so I don't think it matters who says I love you first. I think both parties need to try the spirit. Make sure whoever you loving really loves you before you commit, before you jump all the way in. Make sure, before you fall in love and before you get all head over heels, I think you should make sure the other person cares about you and even feels some type of similar way about you, and they're just not, into the physical aspect of the relationship.
Yes, that's really good, man. Again, to all of our new persons joining the chat, feel free to send us a question. I see a few persons here. Just want to do a little check-in with who's here. I saw that Alex was here and Jessie LaRue, girl. I never was able to pronounce that, but that's my cousin. Dina came by. Hey, girl. Who's this? Snave.Anna8. Thank you for joining us. Stop. Girl, what you saying? I hope you all are enjoying. I see Quiet Storm. Who's this? Taka. Oh, Lord, I don't want to jack up your names. I'm so sorry. Takaramoni. Let's go with that. Curly Girl. Gia Stubbs, Delicia King. Thank you all for joining us. So moving right along, Renee, so tell me, with all of this wisdom that you have in this head of yours, can women lead in their relationships at any point in time? We're not just saying in from a overall perspective, but can women lead at any point in time in their relationship, or should all of the leading and spearheading of things be done by the male?
I believe that my view on it should be a compliment. And why I say that the man should lead. However, if there is an area that he is weak in, and I pray that he would admit that, if there's an area where he is weak in, there's nothing wrong with him, getting advice from his wife. And because I'm not even talking about girlfriend boyfriend relationships, because that's just a passing thing. We're talking about committed relationships. We're talking about marriages. And I believe that the guy should lead. However, if the woman has more wisdom in an area, there's nothing wrong with her technically offering advice. She still would not be leading. She would just be joining in with him or advising him, but he would still be the head, because technically the woman is never the head. And we also, as females, we have other ways in which we can lead, because we have our own tactics and special ways where we can get the guy to do what we want him to do, and he not even know that, hey, it's not him. This wasn't your brilliant idea, honey. I'm just saying, good idea, honey, but we actually just found a way to just kind of like brush that in there, and hey, you did a good job on that. And so we can even pray about it. You can encourage the guy, hey, let's go to the Lord on this, and let him show us the way or the direction in which we're supposed to go with, especially if it's a really major decision.
Definitely.
Now, I also feel that if it's something trivial, like should I buy red pepper or yellow pepper, now you don't necessarily need to go and say, I need to get your leadership on this.
That would be petty. But the thing about it is, some people actually do that. Some relationships can be quite abusive in that way, where the guy expects, honey, you got to tell me everything you buy, detail by detail. I want a written explanation of why you bought it and how you can make up for this. And I know some people, like, literally they have to be always looking over their shoulder when they buy things, or having separate accounts, because they don't want their husband or their wife to know what they're doing, because they know how. Trust me, some females could be aggressive too. Some females can be abusive too, and I've heard all kind of crazy stories. But yeah,
I think that's why trust and communication is so important, because I think there's nothing wrong with communicating with your spouse about everything you purchase. If it's really trivial, like a hairpin or something so trivial, then you don't necessarily need to talk about it. But I don't see anything wrong with being open about things, because I believe, as a female, just how I wouldn't want my husband to purchase something and I not know about it, I guess the guy feels that way too. And so, we may look at it from our side of look at it from our side, but not really see the way that he feels about it, or understand why he's being so nickel and diming, like, Krista, tell me what you did with that $5.
that's very good. So true. And I just want to ask you, don't know if you want to share, but what do you think would be some, let's say, good advice for persons who might be in relationships now or already married, and they have let's put it like this, they have a husband, maybe, sorry, a wife who, is more of the dominant one. What would you say would be some advice for their relationship in order to kind of like be cordial and make that work? Because I know sometimes in a lot of relationships, females can tend to take the lead. So what would be your advice to kind of like be as warning signs to that female so that she would not overstep her boundaries, so to speak?
Warning signs for who? The guy or the girl?
The guy.
That you want him to figure out, if this girl is just going to be too dominant for me, or if she is salvageable. I guess communication and asking as many questions as possible in the initial parts of the relationship. And I think a lot of times people don't even ask questions before they begin to date. They just begin to date and then they ask the questions later, like, let's get to the Q&A before the date. Like, do you like apples? Do you believe in, buying $1,000 coats? Just ask questions, no matter how it may seem trivial. But I guess just ask questions like, what would you do in a scenario? Or how would you respond if I did this? Or so just asking as many questions, this would help you to determine, if this is someone that you can work with even before you start to fall in love. Because I find sometimes after you've fallen in love or after you've gotten involved physically with the person, then it's kind of hard to go back to the beginning part and say, let's fix this. So a lot of people just say, okay, we're already here, we're ready together, let's make this work, as opposed to in the beginning trying to find out these things, trying to find out, hey, is this something that I even want to deal with in a relationship?
That's true. That is so true. Definitely. Do you have anything else you want to add before we close out?
No, I don't want to add anything else, but does anyone have a question or a comment that you want to make?
Anything at all? As we wait. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it so much. So we are doing a little better on time this week. Last time we went over 15 minutes or so, but it was a good conversation nonetheless. Thank you all for joining us, and do tune in for next week. We will have another amazing topic, and it's going to be on relationships again. How do you deal with change in relationships? So if you're interested in that, do stay tuned. Tune in next week. Bring your food, your dinner, whatever you need to get comfortable, and let's talk.
Awesome. Bye, everyone. Guys. Have a great evening.
All right.